My son handed his mother-in-law a gleaming BMW, tied with a smug red bow, while I, his own mother, who gave him everything, clutched a pathetic $3 piggy bank. My heart shattered beyond repair. How could he betray me like this? Want to know what I did next? The Christmas lights sparkled outside my cozy Asheville home, but inside, my heart felt like it was crumbling to dust. I'm Martha Reynolds Marty, to those who know me, a retired elementary school teacher who gave 38 years of my life to raise my son James, with every ounce of love I had. My kitchen still smelled of the pecan pie and roasted turkey I'd spent 8 hours preparing for our Christmas dinner, all for James, his wife Claire, and her mother, Vivian Brooks. Vivian, who waltzed into our family just 10 months ago, somehow earned the title Mama Vi like she'd been here forever. And my reward? A cheap plastic piggy bank with $3 lousy inside, handed to me by James with a smug, "You're so good with money, Mom." Meanwhile, Vivian was out there, fawning over her shiny $60 000 BMW, complete with a gaudy red bow, as if she deserved it. Claire cheered her on, blind to the pain searing through me. "It's symbolic, Mom," James said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Symbolic of what? My worth?" I pasted on a smile. "Because that's what mothers do, we bury the hurt." But as their laughter floated in from the driveway, and I stood alone scrubbing dishes, a question burned in my gut. Why was Vivian worth a fortune to my son, while I was worth pocket change? If you're watching, subscribe and tell me where you're from. I had to uncover the truth. The dishwasher hummed in my quiet Asheville kitchen, but it couldn't drown out the sting of betrayal still burning in my chest. I'm Martha Reynolds Marty, a 70-year-old retired schoolteacher who thought she knew her son, James, better than anyone. But as I stood there, scrubbing grease off the last of the Christmas dinner plates, the image of that gaudy $60,000 BMW with its red bow, handed to Vivian Brooks like a crown, made my blood boil. James and his wife Claire had left with Vivian to parade her new toy around town, their laughter fading into the chilly North Carolina night. I was left alone, clutching that pathetic $3 piggy bank, its cheap plastic mocking every sacrifice I'd made, every late-night shift, every college tuition check, every dream I'd put on hold for James. The grandfather clock ticked loudly, each second amplifying the question, why was Vivian, a woman who'd barely been in our lives for 10 months, treated like royalty, while I was tossed scraps? I set the last plate in the rack and wiped my hands, my eyes catching on something out of place on the counter. Vivian's sleek Gucci purse, left behind in her excitement over that shiny car. It sat there, expensive and careless, next to my dollar store piggy bank, like a slap in the face. "How forgetful of you, Mama Vi," I muttered, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Curiosity or maybe anger got the better of me. I picked up the purse, its leather smooth and heavy, and peeked inside. My heart skipped a beat. Tucked in her wallet was a wad of cash, hundreds, maybe thousands, and a stack of credit cards from every fancy store in Asheville. But it was the folded papers behind her driver's license that stopped me cold. Bank statements showing accounts with balances that could buy my house twice over. Vivian wasn't just well off, she was swimming in money. So why was my son breaking the bank to buy her a BMW? I shouldn't have kept digging, but I did. Her phone, nestled in a sparkly case, buzzed with notifications. I glanced at the screen. A text from someone named Henry Brooks. "Mom, where are you? Call me, I'm worried." Henry Brooks? Vivian had never mentioned a son. She'd played the lonely widow card since she waltzed into our lives after my husband, Tom, passed 3 years ago. My hands trembled as I scrolled further, finding photos, dozens of them. Not family snapshots, but documents. My property deed, Tom's life insurance policy, even a blurry shot of my Social Security card, which I kept locked in my upstairs safe. My stomach churned. "What the hell are you up to, Vivian?" I whispered, my voice shaking with a mix of fear and fury. The front door creaked open, and I nearly dropped the phone. "Mom, we're back!" James called, his voice cheerful, oblivious. I shoved Vivian's phone back into her purse and forced a smile as they walked in. Vivian's eyes flicked to the counter, and for a split second, I caught a flash of panic before her usual charm kicked in. "Oh, Marty, I'm such a scatterbrain. Left my purse behind," she said, laughing that tinkling laugh that made my skin crawl. "No trouble at all," I replied, my voice sweeter than molasses, but inside, I was screaming. She checked her purse quickly, her fingers lingering on the wallet, and I saw relief wash over her when she thought I hadn't noticed anything. "Had fun showing off your new car?" I asked, keeping my tone light. "Oh, it's divine," Vivian gushed. "James is such a thoughtful boy. You raised him well." The word boy grated on me. James was 38, not some kid she could patronize. Claire chimed in. "We took Mama Vi to show the neighbors. They're green with envy." I nodded, my smile tight. "Glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for dinner, Mom," James added, already grabbing his coat. "We'll catch you later." No invitation to join them, no offer to help with the mess they'd left. Just a quick goodbye as they hustled out, Vivian clutching her purse like a lifeline. The door slammed shut, and the silence hit me like a freight train. I sank into Tom's old armchair, the one James always complained didn't match Claire's modern taste. My eyes landed on the piggy bank, those $3 rattling like a cruel joke. Then my phone rang, shattering the quiet. "Mrs. Reynolds, this is Officer Daniels with the Asheville Police Department," a gruff voice said. "We've had a missing person report filed for a Vivian Brooks. Her son Henry says she was last seen at your address." My heart pounded. "Missing?" I said, keeping my voice steady. "She was here for Christmas dinner, but she left with my son and daughter-in-law about an hour ago. They were taking her new BMW for a spin." The officer paused. "New BMW? Can you confirm their names?" "James and Claire Reynolds," I said. "You might want to check with them." I hung up, my mind racing. Vivian had a son who cared enough to call the cops when she didn't answer her phone for an hour? That didn't sound like the lonely widow she'd sold us. I grabbed my laptop and searched Henry Brooks, Seattle. Within minutes, I found him a polished attorney specializing in elder fraud, his website full of articles about protecting seniors from financial scams. My blood ran cold. Vivian wasn't just playing games. She was running a con. And those photos in her phone were proof she'd been spying on me for months. If you're watching, subscribe and tell me where you're from. What would you do if you found your personal documents in someone else's purse? Because I was done playing the naive mother. Vivian Brooks was about to learn that this 70-year-old wasn't as helpless as she thought. The Asheville night pressed against my windows, heavy and dark, as I sat frozen in Tom's old armchair, the weight of Vivian Brooks's betrayal sinking deeper into my bones. That Gucci purse, those damning photos on her phone, my property deed, Tom's life insurance, my social security card had shaken me, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. My hands still trembling, I opened my laptop again, driven by a gnawing need to understand the full scope of Vivian's scheme. I dug deeper into her phone, which I'd photographed before she reclaimed it, zooming in on an email thread buried in her gallery. It was a conversation with someone labeled Investor Contact, discussing the Reynolds asset transfer. My heart thudded as I read the words. Martha's property is valued at $450,000. With the pension, we're looking at a clean $700,000 haul if James plays his part. James, my son, the boy I'd rocked to sleep, whose college I'd paid for by skipping vacations, whose wedding I'd planned down to the last napkin, was he part of this? I opened his text messages, accessed through a backup app I'd found on Vivian's phone. There it was, a thread between him and Vivian, dated weeks ago. Mom's stubborn, but if we show her how much we trust you, she'll come around, James wrote. Vivian's reply. Keep her focused on the family angle. We need that house in play. My breath caught. a sharp pain slicing through my chest. I clutched the arms of Tom's chair, the fabric worn from years of his laughter, his love. This house, our home, where we'd carved out a life, where James took his first steps, was just a hall to them. I whispered to the empty room. "How could you, James?" My voice broke, tears stinging my eyes. I stumbled upstairs to my bedroom, pulling out the box where I kept Tom's old letters and our wedding photos. I traced his face in a faded picture, his grin as bright as the North Carolina sun on our wedding day. "You'd be ashamed of him, Tom," I said, my voice a ragged sob. The realization hit like a sledgehammer. Not only was Vivian a con artist, but my own son might be her accomplice, plotting to strip me of everything. The $3 piggy bank sat on my nightstand, its hollow rattle a cruel reminder of my worth in his eyes. I'd given him everything, and he'd traded me for a shot at Vivian's promises. The pain was a living thing, clawing at my heart, leaving me gasping in the dark. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of my spiral. It was Claire, her voice chirpy but strained. "Marty, just checking in. Mama V's thrilled with her car. We're planning a big thank you dinner for James's generosity. You'll come, right?" I gripped the phone, my knuckles white. "Generosity?" I said, barely keeping my voice steady. "You mean the $60,000 car he gave Vivian while I got pocket change?" Silence stretched on the line. "It's not like that, Marty," Claire stammered. "It's just—" James wanted to make her feel welcome. "Welcome," I repeated, my tone ice, cold. "And what about me, Claire? What do I get for being his mother?" She mumbled something about talking later and hung up, leaving me alone with my fury and grief. I sank onto the bed, the weight of their betrayal crushing me. James and Claire weren't just neglecting me, they were pawns in Vivian's game. Or worse, willing players. The photos, the emails, the texts, they painted a picture of a calculated plan to take my home, my savings, my life. I stared at the piggy bank, its painted smile mocking me. "You thought you raised a good man," I whispered to myself, tears streaming down my face. But I wasn't done yet. If Vivian thought she could break me, she was dead wrong. If you're watching, subscribe and tell me where you're from. Have you ever felt betrayed by the ones you love most? Because I was about to fight back, and Vivian Brooks wouldn't know what hit her. The Asheville dawn crept through my curtains, casting a pale glow on the $3 piggy bank, its painted grin a silent accusation. The pain of James's betrayal, coupled with Vivian Brooks's sinister plan, had kept me up all night. But I wasn't the broken woman they thought I was. I'd spent 40 years as a schoolteacher, wrangling rowdy kids and outsmarting their excuses. If Vivian thought she could con me out of my home, she'd picked the wrong fight. I poured a strong cup of coffee and got to work, my resolve hardening like the North Carolina clay under my feet. Those photos on Vivian's phone, my property deed, Tom's insurance policy, my social security card weren't just a betrayal. They were evidence of a calculated scam. And that email about a $700,000 haul with James's name tied to it? That was my call to action. I started with Susan Miller, my lawyer of 20 years, who'd handled Tom's will with the precision of a surgeon. I drove to her office in downtown Asheville, the morning air crisp and sharp. "Susan, I need you to check something," I said, sliding a printout of Vivian's email across her desk. Her eyes widened as she read. "Marty, this is serious. If they're planning to transfer your assets, we need to dig deeper." She pulled up county records on her computer, her fingers flying. "Here's something odd," she said, her voice tight. "A power of attorney document was filed 3 weeks ago, giving James control over your finances. It's got your signature, but—" I leaned in, my heart pounding. "I never signed anything like that." Susan's face was grim. "Then it's a forgery. We're talking felony fraud." I felt a chill, but not fear-anger. James, my own son, had either been duped or was complicit. Either way, I needed answers. "Can you freeze that document?" I asked. Susan nodded. I'll file an injunction today, but we need more evidence to nail whoever's behind this. I thought of Vivian's phone, the texts, the photos. I've got to start, I said, showing her the pictures I'd snapped of Vivian's screen. Susan's jaw dropped. Marty, this is surveillance. She's been stalking your financial life. Back home, I turned to my laptop, searching for Henry Brooks, Vivian's son, whose worried text had tipped me off. His website confirmed he was a Seattle attorney specializing in elder fraud, his blog detailing scams just like the one Vivian seemed to be running. One article caught my eye. Con artists often pose as trusted family members, exploiting emotional bonds. Vivian's Mama V act wasn't just manipulative, it was textbook. I called Henry's office, using my sweetest southern drawl. Hello, dear. This is Martha from Asheville. I'm a friend of your mother, Vivian. She's been staying here, and I just want to make sure she's okay after last night. His secretary's voice was warm but cautious. Mrs. Brooks has been in North Carolina since August. Mr. Brooks was worried when she didn't answer yesterday. He's very close to his mother. Close? Vivian had painted herself as a lonely widow. Another lie. I hung up, my mind racing. Vivian wasn't just after my house. She'd been weaving this web for months. But how deep was James involved? I needed to know, so I called him, keeping my voice light. James, honey, can you swing by? I'm feeling a bit lonely after Christmas. He hesitated. Sure, Mom. Claire and I are kinda busy, but I'll stop by tomorrow. His tone was off nervous, evasive. Bring Claire, I said. We need a family talk. After hanging up, I set up my phone's voice recorder. If James was in on this, I'd get the truth, one way or another. Next, I crafted a trap. Using my old teaching skills, I mocked up fake bank statements on my computer, showing I had $3 million in liquid assets, far more than the $700,000 Vivian thought I was worth. I printed them with crisp, official-looking letterheads, knowing her greed would blind her to the ruse. If Vivian was after a haul, I'd dangle a bigger one. I also emailed Susan, asking her to prepare a new will, leaving everything to a local Asheville charity for abused women. Make it ironclad, I told her. No loopholes. If James and Vivian thought they could cash in on my life's work, they'd get nothing but regret. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, the piggy bank staring back at me. I imagined confronting James, his face crumpling as I played back his own words from Vivian's texts. You're so good with money, Mom, he'd said, handing me that insult of a gift. Good with money? I'd show them just how good. My plan was simple but risky. Lure Vivian into revealing her scam by pretending to trust her investment scheme, record every word, and expose her to Henry, the police, and anyone else who'd listen. James and Claire would have to choose come clean or go down with her. The pain of their betrayal still cut deep, but it was fuel now. I wasn't just fighting for my home. I was fighting for the truth, for the life Tom and I built, for the mother I'd been. If you're watching, subscribe and tell me where you're from. Have you ever had to outsmart someone you trusted? Because I was about to turn the tables on Vivian Brooks, and she'd never see it coming. The Asheville afternoon sun glinted off the polished hood of Vivian Brooks' BMW, parked like a trophy in her driveway. But I wasn't here to admire it. I'd spent days piecing together her scam, those photos of my personal documents, the forged power of attorney, the emails plotting to steal my $450,000 home and Tom's pension, my fake bank statements, claiming I had $3 million in assets, were tucked in my purse, ready to bait Vivian into a trap. My phone's recording app was on, hidden in my pocket, capturing every word. I wasn't the broken mother who'd cried over a $3 piggy bank. I was a woman ready to fight. As I walked up to Vivian's sleek, modern house, its glass windows screaming money I now knew came from scams, I felt a surge of adrenaline. She thought she was playing chess with a pawn, but I was about to checkmate her. Vivian opened the door, her silk blouse and diamond earrings gleaming, her smile as fake as the power of attorney she'd filed. "Marty, darling, come in," she chirped, ushering me into her living room, where glossy financial charts were spread across a mahogany table. James and Claire followed, their faces tense, unaware of the bomb I was about to drop. "I'm so thrilled you're considering our investment plan," Vivian said, her voice dripping with honey. "It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." I nodded, playing the part of a naive widow. "It sounds exciting, Vivian, but I want to meet your investment team first. I'm old-fashioned like that. I need to see faces before I hand over my life savings." Her smile flickered, just for a moment. "Oh, Marty. They're tied up with another client, a last-minute emergency," she said, shuffling papers to cover her unease. "But I've got their credentials right here, and I can answer any questions." I raised an eyebrow, leaning forward. "An emergency? That's odd for a whole team. What kind of emergency?" Vivian's fingers twitched, betraying her nerves. "High-stakes finance. You know, sometimes deals need immediate attention." I smiled, sweet as pie. "Of course. But I've been doing some thinking, Vivian. My accountant reviewed my assets, and I've got more to invest than I realized." I slid my fake bank statements across the table, watching her eyes widen like a kid in a candy store. $3 million in liquid assets. Shouldn't we go big with that? Vivian practically lunged for the papers, her composure cracking as greed took over. $3 million? She gasped, her voice trembling with excitement. "Marty, this changes everything. We can structure an aggressive portfolio offshore accounts, tax-free growth. My associates specialize in this." Claire shifted uncomfortably, glancing at James, who looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. "Offshore?" I asked, feigning innocence. "Is that legal?" Vivian leaned in, her voice low and urgent. "Completely legal if done right. We'd move your funds through international channels to maximize returns. You could double your money in a year." I nodded slowly, my heart pounding as the recorder caught every word. She'd just proposed money laundering, and I had it on tape. "Vivian, you're so knowledgeable," I said, keeping my tone warm. "How'd you get into this? And your son, Henry, does he work in finance too?" Her face froze, her eyes darting like a trapped animal. "Henry? He's not in this field," she stammered. I tilted my head, my voice sharp now. "That's funny, because I looked him up. Henry Brooks, elder fraud attorney in Seattle. Specializes in busting scams like the one you're pitching me." The room went silent, the air thick with tension. James's jaw dropped, and Claire's hand flew to her mouth. Vivian's smile vanished, replaced by a cold, calculating stare. "Marty, I don't know what you're implying," she said, her voice tight. "I'm not implying anything," I said, standing up, my voice steady as steel. "I'm saying you've been spying on me for months, photographing my documents, forging my signature, plotting to steal my home, and I've got it all recorded." I tapped my pocket, where my phone was still running. Vivian's face drained of color. "You're recording this?" she hissed. "Every word," I said. "Every lie about your investment group, every photo of my social security card, every email about your $700,000 haul. You picked the wrong woman to mess with." James stammered. "Mom, what's going on?" I turned to him, my heart aching but my resolve firm. "Ask Mama Vi, James. Ask her why she's been playing us all." Vivian lunged for her phone, but I stepped in front of her. "Sit down, Vivian. We're not done." She sank back, her eyes blazing, but I saw fear there too. "You can't prove anything," she spat. "Oh, I can," I said, pulling out copies of her emails and photos. "Forged documents filed with the county clerk, unauthorized appraisals of my house, and your own words, recorded for the police." Claire gasped. "Marty, is this true?" I nodded. "Vivian's been using you both, but the question is, James, how much did you know?" His face crumpled, and for a moment I saw the boy I'd raised, not the man who'd betrayed me. If you're watching, subscribe and tell me where you're from. What would you do if you caught a con artist red-handed? Because this was just the beginning, James and Claire had some explaining to do, and I wasn't letting anyone off easy. The Asheville evening wrapped my home in a quiet chill, but inside, the air crackled with tension. I just left Vivian Brooks reeling, her scam exposed by my recorded evidence and fake $3 million bank statements. Now, I sat at my kitchen table, the $3 piggy bank glaring at me like a witness to my pain. James and Claire were due any minute, summoned for a family talk they didn't know would be a reckoning. My phone, still warm from recording Vivian's confession, lay ready to play back her damning words. The forged power of attorney, the photos of my personal documents, the emails plotting to steal my $450,000 home all pointed to Vivian as the mastermind. But James's text to her, urging me to come around, haunted me. Was my son a victim or a traitor? I was about to find out. The doorbell rang, and James walked in, his face pale, Claire trailing behind with red-rimmed eyes. They sat across from me, the same table where I'd served them Christmas dinner, now a battleground. "Mom, what's this about?" James asked, his voice tight, like he sensed a storm coming. I didn't waste time. I pressed play on my phone, and Vivian's voice filled the room, smooth and greedy. "We'd move your funds through international channels, double your money in a year." Claire gasped, her hand clutching James's arm. I stopped the recording and slid copies of Vivian's emails across the table. "She's been planning to take my house, my savings, everything. And you, James, were part of it." James's eyes widened, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "Mom, I didn't know it was like that," he stammered. I leaned forward, my voice low and sharp. "Didn't know? Then why'd you text her? Mom's stubborn, but she'll come around. Why'd you let her file a fake power of attorney with your name on it?" Claire sobbed, burying her face in her hands. "Marty, we were desperate," she choked out. "I lost my job 6 months ago. We're drowning in debt, $70,000 just for that BMW. Vivian said it was an investment, a way to prove we were serious so her group could fix our finances." I felt a pang in my chest, but I held firm. "So you thought selling out your own mother was the answer?" I said, my voice trembling with hurt. James shook his head, tears welling up. "She told us you wanted to downsize, that the house was too much for you. She said this would help you, help all of us." I laughed, a bitter sound that echoed in the quiet kitchen. "Help me? By forging my signature? By photographing my social security card? James, I raised you to know right from wrong. How could you believe her?" Claire reached for my hand, but I pulled back. "Marty, we were stupid," she said, her voice breaking. "Vivian made it sound so easy, like we were all going to win. We didn't know she was a criminal." I stared at them, my heart torn between love and fury. "You didn't know? Or you didn't want to know?" I asked. Then I dropped the bombshell. "I changed my will today. Everything, my house, Tom's pension, every cent goes to a women's shelter in Asheville. You get nothing unless you make this right." James' face crumpled, and Claire let out a wail. "Mom, please," James begged. "We're sorry. I'll do anything to fix this." I stood, my voice steady as steel. "Then start by telling the truth. To me? To the police? To Vivian's son, Henry. You're either with me or against me, James. Choose." The silence was deafening, their faces etched with guilt and fear. I'd loved them fiercely, but I wouldn't be their victim. If you're watching, subscribe and tell me where you're from. Have you ever had to face the ones you love with a hard truth? Because this fight wasn't over, Vivian was down. But James and Claire had to prove they deserved my trust again. The Asheville night was still, the stars peeking through my kitchen window as I sat across from James and Claire, their faces etched with guilt after our explosive confrontation. The $3 piggy bank sat on the table, a silent reminder of the betrayal that had brought us here. Vivian Brooks's scam, her forged power of attorney, her secret photos of my social security card, her plan to steal my $450,000 home was laid bare, recorded on my phone. James's confession that he and Claire, drowning in $70,000 of debt from that cursed BMW, had been manipulated by Vivian's promises cut deep. But it wasn't enough. I'd changed my will, leaving everything to a women's shelter, and told them they'd get nothing unless they made this right. Now, their choice hung in the air like a storm about to break. James broke the silence first, his voice hoarse. "Mom, I swear, we didn't know Vivian was a crook. She fed us lies about helping you, about securing our future. I was desperate Claire was talking about leaving. The bank was breathing down our necks." Claire nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Marty, we were sorry for what we put you through." I looked at them, my heart aching for the son I'd raised and the daughter-in-law I'd welcomed, but my resolve was iron. "Sorry doesn't undo a forged signature, James," I said, my voice steady but heavy. "It doesn't erase the fact that you chose her lies over me. You've got one chance to prove you're still my family." James stood, his hands shaking. "We'll go to the police with you. We'll tell them everything, Vivian's plan, the fake documents, all of it." Claire reached for a tissue, her voice trembling. "And we're selling that damn BMW tomorrow. We'll pay back every cent of that loan, even if it takes years." I nodded, the weight in my chest easing just a fraction. "Good. But you're also calling Henry Brooks. He deserves to know what his mother's been doing." James flinched, but he agreed. "I'll do it, Mom. Whatever it takes." Weeks later, the fallout came swift and hard. Vivian was arrested in Asheville, charged with elder fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit theft. Her trial was a spectacle. Her own son, Henry, testified against her, his voice breaking as he described her double life as a con artist preying on families like ours. She was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison, her smug, Mama Vi persona shattered. James and Claire kept their word, selling the BMW and working double shifts to chip away at their debt. They started family counseling, and slowly, we began to rebuild. One Sunday, they showed up at my door with a gift, not another insult like the piggy bank, but a leather-bound album filled with photos of our family. Tom and me on our wedding day, James as a toddler, Claire at her bridal shower. "We found these in Dad's old study," James said, his eyes soft. "We want you to know you're the heart of this family." I held the album, my throat tight. "This means more than you know," I said, tracing Tom's face in a photo I hadn't seen in years. For the first time since Christmas, I saw glimmers of the son I'd raised, the family we could be again. "If you're watching, subscribe and tell me where you're from. Have you ever rebuilt trust after a betrayal?" Because as I held that album, I knew the road ahead would be long, but I was ready to walk it with lessons hard-learned and a heart still open to hope. The Asheville sky stretched wide above my porch, stars twinkling like quiet promises as I sipped lemonade, the $3 piggy bank now a proud fixture on my mantle. Vivian Brooks was behind bars, her 4-year sentence a testament to the consequences of greed. Her scam, those forged documents, the secret photos, the plot to steal my $450,000 home had unraveled, thanks to my fight. James and Claire, my son and daughter-in-law, were rebuilding their lives, working hard to repay their $70,000 debt and mending our fractured bond through counseling. The photo album they gave me, filled with memories of Tom and our family, sat open on my lap, a reminder that love, though tested, could endure. But as I looked out at the North Carolina night, I knew this wasn't just about winning a battle, it was about the lessons carved into my heart. At 70, I learned that age doesn't diminish your strength, it sharpens it. Never let anyone make you feel small, no matter how much you love them. Check your bank statements, guard your documents, and trust your gut when something feels wrong. Most importantly, hold space for forgiveness, because even the deepest wounds can heal when truth leads the way. Vivian tried to take my home, but she gave me something greater, a chance to show James and Claire what family really means, standing tall even when it hurts. If you're watching, I'd love for you to like this video, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the Unwanted Revenge. Your stories matter, and I want to hear them. Because in the end, it's not the betrayals that define us, it's how we rise above them.